The question is which Nikaya to read first. Is there a sequence? There are 5 English translations. I have a book, written a book called Liberation, Relevance of Sutta Vinaya. I think it's there. So it's mentioned, it's good to start with the Anguttara Nikaya because it concerns a lot of suttas there concern lay persons and it's easier to understand. And after that, probably the Samyutta Nikaya. But the problem if you read yourself, you may find it difficult to understand. So I took the trouble to read the sutta and explain it. Sometimes when I explain it using other suttas, you can understand much better. So several people have told me when they tried to read the Nikayas themselves, they could not understand. After they listened to my talks, they could understand. To make you understand why, there is a simile given in the suttas about several blind men. They were asked to touch an elephant because they can't see. They were asked to touch an elephant and later to say what is the how the elephant appears to them. So one blind man was asked to touch the leg of an elephant. Another one was asked to touch the tail. Another one touched the body. Another one touched the nose. So after that, when they were asked to explain, the first blind man, he said, an elephant is just like a coconut tree. Because he was touching this leg, which appeared like a coconut tree to him, no different. Another one touched the moving tail, and he said, oh, the elephant is just like a fan. Another one touched the body. I said, the elephant is just like a wall. Another one touched the nose and said, the elephant is just like a pipe. So you see, if you listen to one sutta, you get an explanation from one angle or one perspective. You listen to another sutta, it explains the truth from the same thing from a different angle. So you need to read or need to understand many suttas before you get an overall picture. Yeah, there are some people they like to practice vipassana, and they are told to study the Satipatthana Sutta. But the Satipatthana Sutta does not explain how to practice Satipatthana. What it tells you is the objects of Satipatthana. Does not tell you very much how to practice. But in the Satipatthana Samyutta, in the Samyutta Nikaya, there are many suttas there, and they explain how to practice Satipatthana with very good similes. Then if you study those suttas, then only you understand. And then you understand the difference between Sati and Satipatthana. A lot of monks, they explain Satipatthana as though it's the same as Sati. In fact, they are very different. Okay. Another question I'd like to answer is, will reading too many Dhamma books hold back practical progress and the realization of the Buddhist words? It can. Nowadays there's a proliferation of Buddhist books. A lot of them is not the Buddha's words, and a lot of them contain wrong views. In the Digha Nikaya, Sutta 29, the Buddha said his teaching of the holy life is perfect and complete. And then the Buddha said, if you think you want to add to his words, you don't see his Dhamma. If you don't see his Dhamma, means you don't have right view. You're not an Arya. If you think you want to subtract from his words, also you don't see his Dhamma. So what the Buddha is trying to say is that those monks who write later books, who say more than what the Buddha said in the 5 Nikayas, are not Aryans. Those are Putujana, ordinary worldlings. And if you follow those later books, you cannot become an Arya. You have to rely on the Buddha's words. When the Buddha was about to enter Parinibbana, he said, after I am gone, take the Dhamma Vinaya that I have taught to be your teacher. And in the Anguttara Nikaya 4.180, the Buddha said, if any monk says that the Buddha taught such and such, you should not accept and you should not reject. You should compare it with the suttas and the Vinaya. Only if conforms to the suttas and the Vinaya can you take it to be the Buddha's teachings. So, as far as Dhamma is concerned, it is the suttas the Buddha is referring to. Also, the Buddha said, his true Dhamma will last 500 years after he has passed on. 500 years. That means he's trying to say that after 500 years, the Dhamma will be polluted. In fact, he said very clearly, he said in the Samyutta Nikaya, Kassapa Samyutta, also in the Upama Samyutta, chapter 20 of the Samyutta Nikaya, he said a time will come when false Dhamma will arise. And the Buddha said, the true Dhamma will not disappear until the false Dhamma arises. And he said, the false Dhamma arises because of foolish men here, meaning in the Sangha itself. Meaning that later monks will create false Dhamma. And so the Buddha warned that we should preserve his true Dhamma. So within these 500 years, we want to know what is the true Dhamma of the Buddha. Luckily, we have Emperor Asoka, who lived about 250 years after the Buddha's passing away. And he had so much faith in the Buddha that he had the Buddha's words carved out on stone pillars. And these stone pillars were placed by the roadside, maybe a kilometer apart. Now, after so long, archaeologists have dug up these stone pillars and found that during the time of Emperor Asoka, which is about 250 years after the Buddha's passing away, there were only 5 Nikayas, and that is the original Dhamma of the Buddha, the Digha Nikaya, consisting of 34 suttas. The Majjhima Nikaya, consisting of 152 suttas. The Samyutta Nikaya, topically grouped discourses, consisting of maybe 3,000 suttas. The Anguttara Nikaya, numerically arranged discourses, about 3,000 suttas. And then in the Khuddaka Nikaya, nowadays we find the Khuddaka Nikaya. Khuddaka means minor, small. So it was called the Khuddaka Nikaya because at that time it was the smallest Nikaya, the least number of suttas. But nowadays it has grown to be the largest of the Nikayas. And we can see why this was so, because like in 1956, the Burmese Sangha Council held a Sangha Council, and then they added 3 more books into the Khuddaka Nikaya. And everybody knew that these 3 books were not the Buddha's words, and still they added. So in the Burmese tradition, you have 18 books in the Khuddaka Nikaya. The Thai and Sri Lanka tradition, we have 15 books. So that was how the Khuddaka Nikaya grew, from a small collection to a major collection. And if we study these 18 books, we find that 6 are quite reliable. Only 6, in that they follow the original 4 Nikayas, the Dhammapada, Udana, Ituvuttaka, Sutta Nipata, Theravada, Therigata. So you find, like in this box of CDs, these are the suttas that I have talked about. So if you study too many books, you get wrong view. And when you get wrong view, it's very hard to change your view. Some of the questions are not important, so I won't answer. Any other thing? Yes.
Explain what Buddha said about how we can go about creating good karma.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere any connection between the cultivation of anatta, non-self, and karma?
Yes. Just now we talked about dana and how meritorious it was. But there's one sutta that says more meritorious than giving is loving kindness, if you have loving kindness. And more meritorious than that is keeping the 5 precepts. And more meritorious than that is seeing impermanence. If you see impermanence, then you see dukkha and anatta. Yeah. And more meritorious than that is becoming a monk or a nun. One more step for you. And then more meritorious than that is cultivating the holy path until you get the paths and the fruits. And the highest merit is becoming an Arahant. Totally liberated. Any other question? Yeah.
Theravada Buddhism, is there such a thing called group karma?
No, there is no such thing as group karma. This comes from Mahayana teachings. But sometimes it could be, say, like a family in a house, the house caught fire and all died. It is possible that in a previous life they did some evil together. You can ask on anything besides Kamma Vipaka. Oh yeah. Wants me to elaborate on the view of the soul. In the Hindu teachings, a man has 3 bodies, I can say it, 3 bodies. The physical body, the astral body, and the super consciousness, the mind. Strangely enough, we find that Jesus said, God is 3. God the Son, God the Holy Ghost, and God the Father. And it seems similar to this. So, it could be that Jesus could have been a Hindu yogi. Because in the Bible, Jesus said, make thine eye one. Open your third eye. He also said, you have 7 temples inside you. These are the chakra points. Because Jesus disappeared for how many years? 12 years or 18 years. So he probably went to India, the land of the holy men. Most of the holy men in the world are found in India. So, this soul, as I mentioned just now in the previous talk, is the spiritual part of man. We have a flesh body. The Buddha talked about 5 destinations of rebirth. Heaven and the human realm are happy destinations of rebirth. Sugati, Sukha, Gati. And there are 3 woeful realms of rebirth, Dugati or Dukkha Gati, which is the ghost realm, animal realm, and the hell realm. So of these 5 realms, you find that 2 have the flesh body, the human and the animal. The other 3 do not have the flesh body. But according to the suttas, they still have a body, consisting of the 5 aggregates. They have a body that we cannot see with our flesh eye, unless you develop psychic powers. Or some dogs probably could see a ghost. So when a being exists as a deva or devi or a ghost or a hell being, he is in the spirit form. Later books say that there is no soul, Abhidhamma. If you are going to be reborn in the womb, they say nothing enters the womb. Consciousness just starts in the womb. Our consciousness enters the womb. But in the suttas, you cannot have consciousness without the 5 aggregates. You cannot have consciousness without the 5 aggregates. Consciousness must always reside in a body. So in the suttas, the Buddha said, if a person is going to be reborn in the womb, there must be 3 conditions. Mother and father must come together. Mother must be in the right season. And when the egg is fertilized, then that being who is waiting to be reborn can enter the egg. And once it enters the egg, and then the egg will start growing. The flesh body will start growing. If it does not enter the egg does not grow. That's why we see the difference between the kampung egg, the village egg, and the egg in the, Longtiong, the farm. Those farm chickens, the egg is not fertilized. So monks and nuns can eat the egg because it will never develop into a chicken. But the kampung egg, we are not allowed to eat because it can develop into a chicken. So this sutta shows there is something entering the egg, the egg in the womb. There is another sutta where Venerable Sariputta said that if a person's karma is so heavy that he is due to be reborn in hell, the moment he dies, the hell beings will come up and drag him down to hell. What are they dragging? They're not dragging his corpse. They're dragging his soul. So something goes to hell. That's why Chinese we say, Gu Tao Be Bin. Now Taoma Min. Yeah. And surprisingly, one devotee told me a few days before the father died, he saw these hell beings waiting for him. So there is such evidence in the suttas. Nowadays, we hear about these near-death experiences on the internet. Yeah, people come out of their body during an operation or immediately after an accident, and then because of attachment they come back. But there are people who go out of their body and never come back, and then they die, so they go out in the spirit form. There is a man who told me of his very interesting experience. That was many years ago. He was probably a gangster or something. He said 3 or 4 men were chasing to kill him. 3 or 4 men wanted his life. So he was running as fast as he could now. And these men were chasing him. And suddenly he heard a gunshot. He continued running. Then something told him to look back. So he turned around and looked back. He saw his body lying on the ground. And then he got a shock. And then an intuitive thought came to his mind, I must go back. I must go back. So he went back into his body and he survived. If he did not go back, he would have died. Yeah. So there is a part of us that can come out of the body. That's why we Chinese believe sometimes if a small boy falls from the tree in a state of shock, you have to call the spirit back. And sometimes it happens, it works. Works. When mother is strict. Okay. Another thing I like to say about the soul. One old devotee told me about the auntie. This auntie had a very nasty character, very bad-tempered. I like to curse the relatives because of property division. She didn't get enough. So 2 days before she died, the Dracula teeth came out. Long Dracula teeth came out. The children had a shock. They tried to cover, could not cover. 2 days later, when she died, the teeth disappeared. It shows that this soul is coming out. 2 or 3 days before a person dies, his consciousness is shifting into another world. He starts to see another world. That's why many people, 2 or 3 days before they die, they are very frightened. How can say, "Ho ya ti lai liao"? Departed relatives coming to welcome him to the ghost realm. Most of the time, or most of people, when we die, most people go into the ghost realm. Most people don't do much evil, but most people are selfish. If you don't know the Dhamma, you don't know how to create the blessings to offset your... Because as a human being, we are in a happy destination of rebirth. So every day we enjoy life. Some of us in the human realm are having a better life than some devas. There are low devas like snake spirits, nagas, yakas, who have to kill to survive. But we don't have to kill to survive. So we have a good life, especially like here in Singapore. So every day we have a good life. We are using up our blessings. So for most people, by the time you die, your blessings has reduced to a low level. So not enough to become a human being, so that when you die, you pass into the ghost realm, where you suffer for some time before you come back. So, you see, it's very common for people to be reborn as a ghost. Just a few days ago, one man was telling me that the father used to hunt, shoot wild boar and all that. Now that he's close to death, it seems his face is changing to be like a ghost. 1 year ago, one of our young devotees called me up. His mother was dying of cancer. Just about a few days before she died, he also saw the mother's face changing to be like a ghost, and he got frightened and called me. So you see? So we have to prepare. Don't be careless. As Gurmit Singh says, don't play. Okay. Oh, I gave a talk exactly on this. I think they have recorded it. So next day you see it on YouTube. There are 2 conditions mentioned in the Mahanikaya for attaining right view. Once you attain right view also there are 2 types. One is worldly right view, one is Ariyan right view. Worldly right view is believing in Kamma Vipaka, believing that there are holy men who practice and attain transcendental stages. And also the third one is believing that there is rebirth. Not that after you pass away, there's nothing. So this is worldly right view. Ariyan right view is understanding the 4 Ariyan truths and understanding impermanence, and because of impermanence of everything in the world, you have suffering and non-self. Non-self is something that is permanent, something that is independent of conditions that you cannot find in the world. Everything arises through conditions and ceases through conditions. So, if you understand the Dhamma, then you have Ariyan right view. So, to attain Ariyan right view, Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 43 says there are only 2 conditions. One is the voice of another, meaning the voice of another teaching you the true Dhamma, the 5 Nikayas, or teachings based on the 5 Nikayas. The other condition is when you listen to the Dhamma, you have focused attention. Focused attention. Focused attention is very important because in the Samyutta Nikaya, I think 46.38, the Buddha says, if a person listens to the Dhamma with all his mind, attending to it as a matter of vital concern, directing his whole mind to it, on that occasion the 5 hindrances are eliminated, are absent. And on that occasion, the 7 bojjhanga, factors of enlightenment, are complete. Meaning that you have the conditions necessary to understand and attain right view and become an Ariyan. So these 5 hindrances, the Buddha said, are 5 things that obstruct you from wisdom, that make you blind, that make you not have right view. So if you eliminate these 5 hindrances, you can get right view. So if you listen to the Dhamma, for example, for 1 hour, pay full attention, for that 1 hour, you don't have the 5 hindrances. That is temporary elimination of the 5 hindrances. That's what is mentioned in that book, Contemplation and Meditation. You can also access it from our Facebook. Our Facebook is Vihara Buddha Gotama. and in our website now. So these two conditions, only two conditions are necessary. You must listen to the true Dhamma and pay focused attention when you listen. Okay? Yes. Or is there any way we can help our relative? There is a sutta concerning transference of merit to our departed relatives. There was a Brahmin who came to see the Buddha, and he told the Buddha, he said, we Brahmins have a tradition. When our relative passes away, we make offerings, food offerings to him, and we burn it. It's called Shraddha offerings. And we hope that he can get it. So he asked whether they actually get it. So the Buddha said, it depends on where your relative is reborn. If your relative is reborn in heaven, he will not get it and he doesn't need it. If your relative is reborn in the human realm, also cannot get. In the animal realm, also cannot get. In the hell, also you cannot get, cannot help. Only in the ghost realm, you can help. This food will go to the departed relative. I think just now that Dhamma talk was mentioned. So only if your departed relative is reborn as a ghost, then he comes back. Sometimes, as mentioned just now, even after many years, 10 years or so, he comes back. But if he knows there is no chance you can help, he won't come. Like in the case of that man, before he came into Buddhism, the brother knew he could not help, so never approached him. After he started to learn Buddhism, then as I mentioned, the ghost brother thought ada harapan, pakatan harapan. Cannot help. Later books, they say can help. That's why it's very important to understand the five Nikayas. The five Nikayas is a lot of suttas, about 8,000 suttas or so. So you need to make a big effort to listen to it at least 1 hour every day. And then after you finish all the five Nikayas, you listen again. Listen again and again and again. Because the first time you listen to the suttas, you catch certain points. And then after some time when you listen to it again, you'll be surprised that you understand more. And then you ask yourself, why didn't I catch these points in the first time? When you listen to it the third time, you catch more points, which you did not realize earlier. That's why you have to keep listening again and again and again. The Buddha in the Digha Nikaya, Sutta 29, as I mentioned, he said his teachings are perfect and complete. Meaning, you cannot make it more perfect, more complete. In other words, our Buddha Gotama is the top class Buddha. You cannot find another Buddha whose teaching is better, is more complete or more perfect than our Buddha Gotama. Our Buddha Gotama's teaching is the most perfect and complete. At the most, they can only equal him. Cannot be better than Buddha Gotama. So, we are so lucky, we have such a great Buddha at this time. But the Buddha said, there are three conditions which is almost impossible to get together. The Buddha said to be born as a human being. And during the time that you are born as a human being, the true Dhamma is available in the world, because after some time it's going to disappear. And then the third condition is you get the opportunity to hear the true Dhamma. For these three conditions to come together is almost impossible, The Dhamma might be around, you might not meet the Dhamma, or you might be born as a ghost, no chance to hear. So for these three to come together is very, very rare. So if you don't make use of this opportunity, you're going to continue on the round of rebirths for eternity. Only when you become a stream enterer, and after that a sotapanna, first fruit, that you have maximum of 7 more lifetimes. So the Buddha said, once you attain stream entry, attain right view, become an Arya, the suffering that is left is so little compared to an ordinary worldling who does not understand the Dhamma. Because in the long round of rebirths, this ordinary worldling will fall into the ghost realm countless times, will fall into the animal realm countless times, will go to hell countless times. But once you attain stream entry, you will never be reborn in the 3 woeful planes. You're going to come back as a human or as a deva or devi. And when you come back, you have great blessings. You have a very good life.
We are practicing Buddhist. Is it necessary to attend a monastery?
Attend what? No, but it is necessary for you to listen to the true Dhamma. That's okay. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha also mentioned that there are 4 conditions for stream entry. One is association with a Sappurisa. A Sappurisa is a person who understands Sat Dhamma. Sat Dhamma is the true Dhamma. So Sappurisa is a true person or true man. A true man is one who understands the true Dhamma. The second condition is listening to the true Dhamma. The third is having focused attention when you listen to the true Dhamma. The fourth is practice of the Dhamma in accordance with the Dhamma. That means once you learn the Dhamma, you put into practice what you know. So these 4 conditions, if you follow them, you can become a stream enterer. And then the Buddha said in the Sutta, I think 55, Samyutta Nikaya 55.40, the Buddha said, if these 4 conditions are completely and totally absent in a person, that person is not a follower of the Buddha. That person is an external sect follower, following some other religion. So if you consider yourself a Buddhist, you must have these 4 conditions. If you don't have these 4 conditions, the Buddha said, you are not his follower. You are not a Buddhist. Why? Because the Buddha defined his follower as a savaka. Whether it's a monk or a nun or a layman or a laywoman, the Buddha called them a savaka, his follower. Savaka means listeners or hearers. Only if you listen to the Buddha's words, his original words, you are a follower of the Buddha. If not, you are not a follower. There are some people don't understand that they come into Buddhism, they meditate and don't want to listen to the suttas. Or they listen to some other teachings. Abhidhamma and all that. Don't want to listen to the suttas. So they are not considered the Buddha's disciple. Because after some, they're never going to get stream entry. And after some time they may even abandon the Buddhist religion like many people do. So even the Buddha's disciples, monk disciples, some of them, when the Buddha was around, also never bothered to listen carefully to the Buddha's words. In the Majjhima Nikaya, there's one sutta where the Buddha scolded one monk. He said, I notice every time I teach the Dhamma, you don't pay attention. Like a small boy like that. And Devadatta was one of the Buddha's monk disciples who did not pay attention because he was all absorbed in meditation. He only wanted to meditate. So as a result, Devadatta attained psychic powers. But when he attained psychic powers, because of not having right view, his ego became so big. So when the Buddha was old, he asked the Buddha to step down, let him take the Buddha's place. And Buddha scolded him in front of so many people, the monks and the nuns. He got so angry, he schemed to kill the Buddha. So when he decided to kill the Buddha, he lost all his psychic powers. Just the thought is already created very bad karma. So he tried various ways to kill the Buddha. In the end, he had to go to hell. So you see, you meditate so hard, put so much effort, get psychic powers in the hell. In the end, you end up in hell. So remember, if you don't listen to the suttas, you're not considered a Buddhist follower of the Buddha. One day when you get psychic power, you'll know. Sati is right mindfulness, meaning actually the word sati is derived from a word that means to remember. And there are 9 suttas where the Buddha said a person who has sati remembers what was said and done a long time ago. And when you attain the jhanas, you are very, very mindful. And the Buddha said when a person attains the 3rd and the 4th jhana, his sati, his mindfulness is very profound. And in the 4th jhana, the Buddha said that a person who enters the 4th jhana has perfect purity of sati, parisuddhi, perfect purity of sati. So perfect that when he comes out of the 4th jhana, he can remember his past lives. 100 past lives, 1,000 past lives, hundreds of thousands of past lives he can remember. So sati is a quality of remembering. So the Buddha said when you practice sati, you must remember to put your attention on 4 objects: the body, feelings, mind and Dhamma. Because if we don't remember, we pay our attention to what we see, what we hear, what we smell, taste, touch and think. It's not wrong to pay attention, but if you pay too much attention, you get pulled by those objects and you get attached to them. And you watch TV, watch football or whatever, you can get too attached to it. Or you see some handsome man or a beautiful girl and you get attracted. So the Buddha said, these are all the bait of Mara, bait of Satan, trying to keep you in samsara so that you don't become enlightened. So if you contemplate the objects of the 6 senses, you are not going to get wisdom. You are mindful, but mindful of worldly objects is not going to give you wisdom. But if you are mindful of the 4 objects of sati, you will have wisdom. Yeah. So sati is to be practiced in everyday life. For example, feelings. If your temper goes up very high, you must notice. Remember, Bhante Dhammavuddho said, you have too much anger, you have long teeth, and you're dying. So the danger, if you remember, then you cut your unwholesome states. So, also like your mind, if suddenly you look down on somebody, maybe because you're very rich, then you have to be careful. It's another unwholesome quality. You have to remember to develop wholesome qualities. So for that, you have to contemplate these four objects. No? But sati is what you practice in everyday life. Satipatthana is what you practice in meditation. Satipatthana is intense state of sati. Intense state. That's why I said you have to study many suttas. In the Satipatthana Samyutta, the Buddha gave a simile to make you understand how to practice Satipatthana. The Buddha said, the most beautiful girl of the land came out, and everybody, all the guys around clapped and shouted, the most beautiful girl of the land. And then they asked her to sing and dance, so she sang and danced. More people came out. More people clapped their hands and was enjoying the scene. Then an ordinary man came along, and they caught this ordinary man and made him carry a bowl of oil filled to the brim, and asked him to walk among the crowd of people, and told him, there's a man behind you, following you with a long drawn sword. If you spill even a drop of oil, your head will be chopped off. So this guy has to go with that bowl. Does he dare to look at the beautiful girl? Then doesn't even dare to look left or right. Pays all his attention on the bowl because his life depends on it. So the Buddha gave this simile to make you understand that when you practice Satipatthana, you pay for wholehearted attention on what you are focused on. That's why in the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 43, it is said the Satipatthana is the basis of Samadhi. In other words, to attain Samadhi, to attain the jhanas, you practice Satipatthana. That's why also Venerable Anuruddha was asked, what did you practice, Bhante, now to attain all these great psychic powers? This Venerable Anuruddha, he has great psychic powers. He can see with his divine eye 1,000 world systems, and he had all the 6 abhinyas, higher knowledges, psychic powers. He could recall his past life. He could read people's mind. He had the heavenly eye. He had the heavenly ear. He could fly cross-legged like a bird. He could walk. He could go through the mountain, go through the wall. He could dive into the water and come out as though it's water. He could walk on the water just like Jesus. He could touch with his sitting in meditation. He could touch the sun, touch the moon. With his flesh body, he could fly as far as the Brahma world. So far. So they asked him, what did he practice to get such great psychic powers? And what did he say? Satipatthana. Satipatthana. If you practice Satipatthana correctly, you will attain the 4 jhanas. That's why there's one sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 47, Satipatthana Samyutta, where the Buddha said, if a monk practices Satipatthana and he does not attain Samadhi, does not attain the jhanas, the Buddha said that is a foolish, incompetent, unskillful monk. So those monks who practice Satipatthana and they don't attain, that's what the Buddha calls them. Foolish, incompetent, unskillful monks. So unfortunately nowadays people don't understand the difference between Sati and Satipatthana. So they are practicing Sati and they think they are practicing Satipatthana. Practicing Sati is contemplation. Practicing Satipatthana is meditation. Sorry, sometimes I'm very blunt. People don't like what I say sometimes. I have a friend's father who's sick in the hospital and not doing well. How can we play your talks for him to hear? YouTube? You can get here today on there and the SD card. What topics will be good? my talks in the SD card now have been arranged from introductory talks and then advanced talks and then the Nikayas. So just follow that order. The problem is sometimes when a person is too sick, is not in a right condition to listen. That's why I always say, don't wait until too late. Because cultivation of the spiritual path, the holy life, is to change your character. Change your character for the better. Get rid of unwholesome states that bring you down to woeful planes and cultivate wholesome states that bring you up. So that takes time, at least 10 years, 20 years, to change your character. About a month ago, or 2 months ago, one lady told me that she had an auntie who was very old, and there are some people when they are old and their character change, become very nasty and all that. So this was the case, and then she got one of my SD cards and gave the auntie to listen, and she listened together, and unexpectedly the auntie could understand. Those Hokkien talks, could understand, and she appreciated the talks and she changed. I know of 3 or 4 persons who listened to my talk and cured their depression. Well, depression is because of not understanding the Dhamma. We have certain attachments. So when we listen to the Dhamma, we let go. We understand and we let go. And then can recover from sickness. And some people, after listening, they say their life changed totally. And they appreciate the Dhamma so much, they tell me with tears in their eyes. Not only they are affected, the whole family is affected. It's very good because probably attain stream entry. Group chanting for someone who is dying, it does not help them to go to heaven, but sometimes it helps them to die. There are some people, they are about to die and they are very frightened, and they can't die, keep dragging. And then when they hear some chanting, maybe they feel better, then they let go and go. Many years ago, when I was still a young monk, a family invited me to their house to do some chanting for the father. The father was supposed to have died 3 months ago, but he clung to life because he was afraid. Many people like that, afraid to go because they see frightening place of rebirth waiting for them. So when I went to see him, he was all skin and bones. The eyes sunk in. He was so weak, the mouth open, could not even close his mouth. So myself and another monk did some chanting for him, and then we left. 5 minutes after we left, he passed away. 3 months he could not pass away. After hearing the chanting, 5 minutes he passed away. And I also know I had a distant uncle. I did not see him for a very, very long time. My father's cousin. Then later, after he died, I heard that when he was near death, he was quite fearful. He was looking for somebody, for some monk to chant for him. So it helps in that way. By where you go for rebirth depends on your frequency, on your normal everyday mind. Because I don't know whether just now in that talk I mentioned when a person is dying, the breath stops, and the pulse stops, and the doctor says that person has died. That is clinical death. It will be another 4 or 5 hours before that person actually dies. And that is the time when the body cools down. When the body is cold, then the person dies. So during these 4 or 5 hours, that person is dreaming. And what that person is dreaming about now is his everyday thoughts now. In one sutta, the Buddha said, if a person frequently thinks in a certain way, inclines his mind in a certain way, that will be the natural inclination of his mind. The mind will go in that direction. For example, if a person always flares up, always like to lose his temper, that is natural inclination of his mind. It becomes more and more natural to him. More and more frequently, he will flare up. And the Buddha said, if a person is inclined towards sensual thoughts, that becomes his habit pattern. He has given up the thought of renunciation to think about all these sensual thoughts, and that becomes the habit, his pattern. So we create our habit pattern in our normal everyday life. That's why it's very important to fine-tune our up there. And the one to be about to be reborn, I think refers to the being who has died and waiting to enter the womb. He's waiting for some time before he enters the womb. That is about to be born, either the human womb or the animal womb. Waiting for the mother and father to come together, and the mother is in the right season. The egg is fertilized, then only he can go in. He has not, if he has not left the body, he has not died. Once he has died, he will leave the body, and then out of the 5 destinations of rebirth, heaven should be immediate, ghost also immediate, hell also immediate rebirth, but rebirth in the womb for the human and the animal rebirth, he has to wait. But it's not 49 days. Yeah, of course, Abhidhamma is not the Buddha's teaching. Abhidhamma was not around during Emperor Asoka's time. The way to offer food to the departed relatives, there are 2 ways. One is to offer directly. In Hokkien, we say po to, put by the roadside and tell them it's for them. The other way is to do charity and transfer the merit to them, either to the Sangha or to old folks' home or to orphanage, whatever. Say again? Departed is no more his money, No need his money. Any money will do. Yes, they get that paper money, but in the other realms they don't use paper money. Some people burn the Mercedes-Benz. They will get paper Mercedes-Benz, but they don't need paper Mercedes-Benz because they can fly faster. And what? So Anapanasati and what? Anapanasati and Satipatthana, what is the difference? Anapanasati is mindfulness of the breath, of the in-breath and out-breath. And that is using satipatthana to practice Anapanasati. So basically you are practicing satipatthana, but there are different ways of practicing satipatthana. So one of the ways is Anapanasati.